Dear devotees, thank you so much for joining. Let's start with prayers.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशितारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. Thank you all so much for joining. Dandavat Pranam. So, we'll continue with our reading of the Nectar of Devotion, and today we'll start with the first chapter. And the first chapter, as you all can see, it's entitled Characteristics of Pure Devotional Service. So, here we'll read about the different characteristics of bhakti, of pure bhakti. And also, in today's section, we'll be reading about what is the effect that pure devotion has on our sins. What is the cause of our problems. First we'll see that why are we suffering, what is the cause of that, and then how pure bhakti works on our sins. So there are different types of sins. There are different types of reactions that we are having to our karmas in the past. How bhakti acts on all of that, we are going to uh, read in today's section. Okay, so we can just start reading, maybe two paragraphs per devotee. So, Shobha Mataji, you want to start?
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Mataji,
Krishna,
Sanprabhuji, Srila
Vandana.
Prabhupada ki Jai. Chapter 1, Characteristics of Pure Devotional Service. In Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 29th chapter, verses 12 and 13, Srila Kapila Deva, while instructing his mother, has given the following characteristics of pure devotional service. My dear mother, those who are my pure devotee and who have no desire for material benefit or philosophical speculation have their minds so much engaged in my service that they are never interested in asking me for anything except to be engaged in that service. They do not even beg to live in my abode with me. There are five kinds of liberation, namely to become one with the Lord or to live with the Supreme Lord on the same planet, to have the same features as the Lord, to enjoy the same appearances as the Lord, and to live as a companion of the Lord. A devotee who want to speak of rejection, material sense gratification, does not even want any of the five kinds of liberation. He is satisfied simply by discharging loving service to the Lord. That is the characteristics of pure devotion. In the above statement, by Kapila Deva from Srimad Bhagavatam, the actual position of a pure devotee is described, as the primary characteristics of devotional service are also defined. Further characteristics of devotional service are described by Rupa Goswami with evidence from different scriptures. He states that there are six characteristics of pure devotional service, which are as follows. Pure, number one, pure devotional service bring immediate relief from all kinds of material distress. Number two, pure devotional service is the beginning of all auspiciousness. Number three, pure devotional service
Hare
automatically
Krishna, Mataji, you're breaking.
pure number
In
three
between, you're breaking, Mataji.
automatically puts one in a transcendental pleasure. Number four, pure devotional service is rarely achieved. Number five, those in pure devotional service derive even the conception of liberation. Number six, pure devotional service is the only means to attract Krishna. Krishna is all attractive, but pure devotional service attracts even him. This means that pure devotional service is even transcendently stronger than Krishna himself because it is Krishna's internal potency.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. So, immediately as the chapter is starting, and it is starting with a very, very beautiful, description of how wonderful and how attractive pure bhakti is even to Lord Krishna. Okay, so Srila Prabhupada, in the first paragraph, Prabhupada is saying that how Srila Kapil Dev, while instructing his mother, he has given the characteristics of pure devotional service, that devotees who are who are deeply attracted to Lord Krishna, they have no desire even for material, any kind of material benefit or philosophical speculation, and they are never interested in asking me for anything. So pure devotees, they don't even ask for anything for themselves. For them, the satisfaction of Krishna is the utmost. They are just, their life and soul is all just dedicated to make Krishna happy, and they just want to do bhakti. That's all. They do not even beg to live in my abode with me. I mean, that is such an I mean, that is inconceivable actually for someone like me, because generally what happens is that when we are in all facing all these kind of problems, all these kind of difficulties, then we just want to get out of it. And when we hear about bhakti, when we read about bhakti, when we know that okay, there is a dham of Lord Krishna, where if we go, it is Vaikuntha, there is no misery there. Immediately, our minds, generally would go and think that I just wish I could get out of this material world and go there. That is what the thought comes. I mean, that thought itself is very good, because at least we are thinking about getting out of this material world. But pure devotees, they don't think of anything for themselves. For them, the satisfaction and happiness of Krishna, pleasing Krishna, that is all they need. So then Prabhupada explains that there are five kinds of liberation. So there is one kind of liberation in which one gains residence on one of the Vaikuntha planets where Lord Narayan resides, or his any of the forms of Lord Narayan reside, and that is called Salokya Mukti. Salokya Mukti. Then there is Sarshti, where one attains this. If one attains this liberation, then he acquires the same opulences, the wealth, etc., as the Lord, and he lives in the Vaikuntha planet. So that's Sarshti. Then there is Sarupya. In this liberation, you get the same form as the four-armed Lord Narayan and live in the Vaikuntha planets. So we've done Salokya, Sashti, and Sarupya. Then there is Samipya. In this liberation, one becomes a personal associate of the Lord and stays in his direct association. And this liberation attained by devotees like Arjuna, and he was always a friend of the Lord. So that is Samipya. They are always Samip, they're always close to the Lord. And then there is Sayujya. This is the liberation attained by yogis and jnanis. So, in this liberation, one becomes one with the Brahma Jyoti, the dazzling effulgence of the that is coming from the body of the Lord, or he becomes one with the Lord himself by losing all individuality. In this, when we say losing all individuality, it doesn't mean that the soul merges. No, the soul still remains separate because the soul is it can never be cut or all that we know from Bhagavad Gita. So it just goes and becomes part of the Brahma Jyoti. And attaining this kind of liberation actually is not very hard, but the enemies of the Lord, such as Kamsa, they attain this kind of liberation. And Chaitanya Charitamrita explains that a devotee would rather go to hell than attain this kind of liberation because they definitely don't want to go and merge into the Brahman effulgence. In hell, they still have the opportunity to serve the Lord, but when we become one with the Lord in the Brahma Jyoti, then this is not a state that is desired by a devotee of the Lord. They don't want to become merged. They don't want to become one with the Lord by becoming part of the Brahma Jyoti. So devotees actually they don't want any of these five kinds of liberation, whether it is Salokya or Sashti, Sarupya, Samipya, Sayuchya. Devotees do not want any of these. That's what Prabhupada is saying in the second paragraph, that he is satisfied simply by discharging loving service to the Lord. That is the characteristic of pure devotion. Okay, so if we are still desiring any of these five kinds of liberation, that means that purity is still not there, and we need to work towards that, because when that purity comes, then only satisfaction and happiness of Krishna is desired by the devotee, nothing else. Then there are the primary characteristics of devotional service are defined, and there are six. Srila Rupa Goswami is stating that there are six characteristics of pure devotional service, which are as follows. So the first is kleshagni. That means it gives relief from all material distress. So Prabhupada is translating that as pure devotional service brings immediate relief from all kinds of material distress. Then the next is Shubhada, that means attainment of auspiciousness. So, pure devotional service is the beginning of all auspiciousness. Then, third characteristic of pure devotional service is that it is moksha laghu takrit. That means pure devotional service derives even the happiness of liberation. So, pure devotional service automatically puts one in a transcendental pleasure. So, the pleasure that a devotee experiences just by rendering a pure devotional service, that is way more than the pleasure of, attaining any of these five kinds of liberation. So, devotees don't hanker for that. Then the fourth characteristic is sudurlabha. That means it is rarely achieved. Pure devotional service is very rare. It is very rarely achieved. Then the fifth characteristic is sandrananda visheshatma. That means automatically puts one in the transcendental pleasure. So those in pure devotional service derived even the conception of liberation. And then sixth is Sri Krishna Karshini. It is the only means to attract Lord Krishna. Pure devotional service is the only means to attract Lord Krishna, because is there something that the Lord does not have? No, he has everything. Everything is coming from the Lord. So, what is it that can attract Krishna? That is pure devotional service. So, Prabhupada is stating that Krishna is all attractive. Okay, but pure devotional service attracts even Lord Krishna. And then Prabhupada is saying that this means that pure devotional service is even transcendently stronger than Krishna himself, because it is Krishna's internal potency. So, this we had discussed yesterday also, that pure devotional service is very, very rare. It is actually given by the mercy of Srimati Radharani. So it cannot be taken as something cheap or something very ordinary. It is very, very rare. It is much more rare than all other different kinds of liberation, like we discussed today, any other kind of opulence or any other kind of happiness. Pure devotional service is way above all this, and that is why it is bestowed only on the most sincere of devotees. They only get this pure devotional service, and once this is attained, everything else becomes small in front of this. Okay. Now, next we'll discuss about.
Mataji,
Yes, Mataji.
Mataji, please repeat the names, Mataji. 1 to 6. Second one is Shubhada. First one, Mataji.
Yeah, Mataji, 1 second. I'll post this in the group also. I'll just tell you.
Okay, okay, Mataji. Thank
Yeah,
you.
the
Mataji,
first is
Where will get that shloka, Mataji?
Mataji. The shloka is in the original book Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. There, these characteristics are mentioned. So the names are Kleshagni, that means relief
Place
from
Agni.
material. Yeah, Kleshagni, that is relief from material distress.
Okay,
Shubhda,
Mataji.
that is attainment of happiness. Attainment of auspiciousness. Shubh, right? Then Moksha Lagutakrit, that means it derives even the happiness of liberation. Then Sudurlabha, it's rarely achieved. Sandrananda Visheshatma automatically puts one in transcendental pleasure. And Sri Krishna Karshini, it is the only means to attract Krishna.
Thank you
I'm
very much,
sure this
Mataji.
will.
Thank you very
Hare
much.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, Mataji, like I mentioned yesterday, these the verses are there in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, but Prabhupada is summarizing it here. So, as a summary, he gives us these six characteristics of devotional service. The shloka is actually there in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu itself. Yeah. Now let's read Relief from Material Distress. Yeah. Sudha Mataji, you can read Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, pranams.
Once.
Relief from material distress. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that one should surrender unto Him, giving up all other engagements. The Lord also gives His word that that He will protect surrendered souls from the reactions of all sinful activities. Srila Rupa Goswami says that the distresses from sinful activities are due both to the sins themselves and to sins committed in our past lives. Generally, one commits sinful activities due to ignorance, but ignorance is no excuse for evading the reaction. Sinful activities. Sinful activities are of two kinds, those which are mature and those which are not mature. The sinful activities for which we are suffering at the present moment, they are called mature. The many sinful activities stored within us for which we have not yet suffered are considered immature. For example, a man may have committed criminal acts but not yet been arrested for them. Now, as soon as he is detected, arrest is awaiting him. Similarly, for some of our sinful activities, we are awaiting distresses in the future, and for others which are mature, we are suffering at the present moment. I'll continue, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji, one more paragraph.
Okay. In this way, there is a chain of sinful activities and their concomitant distresses, and the conditioned soul is suffering life after life due to these sins. He is suffering in the present life the results of sinful activities from his past life, and he is meanwhile creating further sufferings for his future life. Mature sinful activities, they are exhibited if one is suffering from some chronic disease, if one is suffering from some legal implication, if one is born in a low and degraded family, or if one is uneducated or very ugly. Thank you, Mataji. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So now we'll read in this section about material distress, right? That's the first point that devotional service gives relief, brings immediate relief from all kinds of material distress. So Prabhupada is explaining that Lord Krishna has promised in the Bhagavad Gita that he will protect all the surrendered souls from the sinful reactions of all sinful activities. And Srila Rupa Goswami says that the distress from sinful activities are due both to the sins themselves and to sins committed in our past lives. Okay. So there are so many times where we may be going through a situation in our life and wondering that what is that big mistake I have made in this life that I have to suffer so much. So now when we come to the path of bhakti and we read scriptures and we understand that there is this concept of mature reactions and those that are not mature. There are some situations that we are dealing with in our life which are causing a lot of suffering to us. Like Prabhupada gives examples that maybe we have a chronic disease or some legal implication, or if we are born in a low degraded family, uneducated, ugly, or the other examples could be that if we are born in a geographically difficult place, a place which is constantly having floods or earthquakes, or a place which is constantly troubled by war or all these kind of things. or if the family situation itself is such that we are always in distress. So these are the results of the mature sinful reactions. We are suffering in our present life because of the sinful activities that we have committed in our past life. So that's when everything starts seeming fair. Otherwise, we see so many people who may be, very good, but they are also suffering. So we feel that why are bad things happening to good people? So then, this is the explanation that there are sinful reactions that we have committed in our past lives, which are now bearing fruit. So that's why all this suffering is coming. Now, the characteristic of devotional service is that it gives us relief from all kinds of distress. But this, we cannot expect that it should be immediate. That, okay, the moment the day I started chanting Hare Krishna, all my problems should just immediately burn out and my life should be completely smooth. That's not the correct expectation, because all these characteristics, these 6 characteristics of devotional service, they will develop gradually. They are not immediately, but the distress, the relief from the distress that we will get from bhakti, that will be permanent and that will be complete. So yes, it as we are progressing, that distress is being relieved, and then this effect will be complete, this effect will be permanent. So we are sadhaka, so we may not experience these effects immediately, but in the initial stages we may still get a glimpse of uh, of of these different characteristics, but it will get more powerful and clear with advancement. Like for example, if someday we are really stressed and or sad about something, and then we sit and chant, then there is definitely at that moment also we feel that relief from that moment of complete depression. We will definitely feel that, but this we have to know that this is just a glimpse. The actual joy is going to be way more than that. So, and with advancement in our sadhana, this will get more powerful and this will get more clear. And Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he explains that why do miseries come. So for us, that is very important, right? Yesterday we discussed that this book is very, very special. It is condensed with knowledge. So this also this the we can say that this is the starting of understanding of the root cause of our problems. Why are our miseries coming? So here, this is the kind of depth that this book is going to take us in. So we have to understand that the root cause of our problem is actually avidya, ignorance, because that avidya, that ignorance leads us to have material desires, and then when we have those material desires, we try to fulfill those desires, so we commit some sinful activities, and that reaction brings us suffering. Okay, so for example, if there is a child and the child does not know that fire is actually bad, that the child can get burnt with the fire, the child is just attracted by the light, the glow of the fire, sees the shining fire and goes to touch it, and the hand starts burning. So, in the same way, there was ignorance about the nature of the fire, right? That caused the desire to go and touch the fire. So, then there was the action of actually touching the fire. And what was the result? Burning. That means suffering. In this way, our ignorance is causing us to have lots of wrong desires. Those wrong desires lead to wrong actions, and those wrong actions then lead to suffering. So, this is something that we have to be completely we have to completely believe this, that if we are suffering, then that means this is the sequence of events that have happened. And now, when we want to actually stop our suffering, then we have to know that we have to stop all of these steps. We have to get rid of our ignorance. We have to stop doing wrong actions. And that is when our suffering is actually going to end. So, yes, there are so many things that we have done in the past lives that we don't have no control over. We cannot change that now. But at least now we can get conscious that if we still remain in the ignorance, then we'll constantly keep having material desires and we'll constantly keep doing wrong actions and constantly get the reactions and suffer. So, if we want to remove this klesha, this suffering, then multiple level of removing is required. We need to stop doing bad karma now. We have to give up the wrong desires also. And the basic ignorance which caused us to get to these wrong desires, we have to give up that also. And that will happen by chanting, by the association of devotees, and by reading of Shastra. Okay. So we have to understand the levels at which these problems happen, and at every step we have to go and correct ourselves. So we have to stop doing wrong actions, we have to give up wrong desires, and we have to remove our ignorance also. Okay, now let's read the next two paragraphs. Yeah, Rekha Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you. Dandavat Pranamam.
Anuj.
There are many results of past sinful activities for which we are suffering at the present moment. And we may be suffering in the future due to our present sinful activities. But all of these reactions to sinful deeds can immediately be stopped if we take Krishna consciousness. As an evidence for this, Rupa Goswami quotes from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 14th chapter, verse 19. This verse is in connection with Lord Krishna's instruction to Uddhava, where he says, "My dear Uddhava, devotional service unto me is just like a blazing fire, which can burn into ashes, unlimited fuel supplied to it." The purport is that as the blazing fire can burn any amount of fuel to ashes, so devotional service to the Lord in Krishna consciousness can burn up all the fuel of sinful activities. For example, in the Gita, Arjuna thought that fighting was a sinful activity, but Krishna engaged him on the battlefield under his order, and so the fighting became devotional service. Therefore, Arjuna was not subjected to any sinful reaction. Shall I read the next paragraph, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, one more para.
Srila Rupa Goswami quotes another verse from the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 33rd chapter, verse 6, in which Devahuti addresses her son Kapila Deva and says, "My dear Lord, there are 9 different kinds of devotional services, beginning with hearing and chanting. Anyone who hears about your pastimes, who chant about your glories, who offers you obeisances, who thinks of you, and in this way executes any of the 9 kinds of devotional service, even if he is born in a family of dog eater, the lowest grade of mankind, becomes immediately qualified to perform sacrifices. As such, how is it possible that anyone actually engaged in devotional service in full Krishna consciousness has not become purified? It is not possible. One who is engaged in Krishna consciousness and devotional service has without doubt become freed from all contaminations of materials and activities. Devotional service, therefore, has the power to actually nullify all kinds of reacts to sinful deeds. A devotee is nevertheless always alert not to commit any sinful activities. This is his specific qualification as a devotee. Thus, Srimad Bhagavatam states that by performing devotional service, a person who was born even in a family of dog eater may become eligible to take part in the performance of the ritualistic ceremonies recommended in the Vedas. It is implicit in this statement that a person born into a family of dog eaters is generally not fit for performing yoga or sacrifice, yajna or sacrifice. Mataji, would you please scroll? The priestly caste in charge of performing these ritualistic ceremonies recommended in the Vedas is called the Brahmana order. Unless one is a Brahmana, cannot perform these ceremonies.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Yeah, so in this section, we are reading that there are many results of past sinful activities for which we are suffering at the present moment, and we may be suffering in the future due to our present sinful activities. So we have to be very conscious that at least now, when we know all these things, all these facts, and we have been given this knowledge, then at least now we should stop our sinful activities as much as possible. There are some things, like if we are talking, there's some insects that get killed, or if you're walking, some insects get killed. There are so many such things happening that we have no control over, but there are some things which we have control over. So at least that we should try to remove from our life and lead a very pure life. And then Prabhupada is quoting that Srila Rupa Goswami quotes from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 14th chapter, verse 19. Lord Krishna's instruction to Uddhava, where Lord Krishna says that, my dear Uddhava, devotional service unto me is just like a blazing fire which can burn into ashes, unlimited fuel supplied to it. So devotional service is so strong, it is so powerful, that just like a blazing fire burns into ashes all the wood, in the same way, devotional service can burn, all the reactions of our sin. So that is the sinful activities which we have accumulated will get burnt up by bhakti. That is very bhakti, very very powerful. And like this example of Arjuna, where Arjuna is doing something which he was very worried that will bring sinful reactions to him. But he was not subjected to any sinful reaction because he was doing it as, after following Krishna's instructions. And also another verse quoted by Srila Rupa Goswami from Srimad Bhagavatam, 33rd chapter, verse 6 in the third canto, where Mother Devahuti is addressing her son Kapila Dev, and she's saying that about the 9 processes of devotional service, beginning with Shavanam Kirtanam. And anyone who hears about the pastimes of the Lord, about his glories, all these things, and executes these 9 processes of devotional service, even if they're born in a family of dog eaters, chandalas, they become so purified that they get the level of brahmanas. They get to such a level that they are qualified to perform sacrifices. And Prabhupada is explaining that unless one is a brahmana, he cannot perform these ceremonies. There are many ceremonies in the Vedas. But bhakti is so strong that whether a person is born in a family of dog eaters also, they may become eligible to take part in the performance of ritualistic ceremonies. So it is generally a person who is a Chandala will not be able to perform any sacrifices. But because of bhakti, all the sins get so, they get burnt up. The person gets so pure that they can get even that to the level of Brahmana and perform sacrifices. So this we see, right? The example is there of all Srila Prabhupada's disciples from the Western countries. They were all engaged in different kinds of sinful activities. They were not leading pure lives. But when Prabhupada came, when the chanting of Hare Krishna was introduced, they gave up all the sinful activities and they became so pure that they even, there are so many of them who are sannyasis now. There are so many who are doing deity service. They are brahmanas, so many Prabhus, Matajis. So that is like in front of us, we can see the proof that how purifying bhakti actually is. And now this concept of the karmic reactions, understanding that there is a prarabdha karma and there is a prarabdha karma, this concept is a little technical, but it's important for us to understand it here. This helps us understand, things that are happening in our life as well as when we see others also. And this concept of, fructified karmic reactions and those which have not yet borne fruit, prarabdha karma or prarabdha karma, this can be understood with the help of a tank. So we can imagine if that there is a tank that is full of water. Then there is water that is being filled in the tank from top, and also there is water that is being removed from below. So there is water entering and there is water being removed, and then there is also water that is stored in the tank. So the total water tank is like the sanchit karma or accumulated karma. Out of this, some of it is coming out. So what I am doing, whatever actions I'm now doing is like adding water to the water tank. That is adding to my karmic bank account. And then whatever suffering that I'm enduring, that is exhausting my karmic bank account. Okay, so that is like water coming out of the tank. So there can be some consequences which we are experiencing right now. There may be some consequences which we are not experiencing. So what we are experiencing now is prarabdha karma. What we are not experiencing is aprarabdha karma. So if we envision it with the water tank, then that water that is getting added is our karma that we are now doing and adding, and whatever we are bearing is like the water coming out. That is, that is getting out of our sanchit karma, that because we are already bearing the results of that. Okay, so we have to understand that even though sometimes some people may think that my life is good, everything is fine, there are everything is smooth, I have a good job, I have money, I have a good family, health is good. Yeah, fine. Their prarabdha karma must be good. So yeah, things are very smooth. But then what about all that sanchit karma that is still to come? We don't know how that is going to come. And that may actually be good. Yes, if they have done very good karma, but there is also the possibility of having negative karma, right? Bad karma. So that means it's going to bring suffering in the future. So we can never get we can never get very casual in this material world, because it just takes one moment to change our life. We may have experienced that in our life, that things were going smooth, and then something happens which really breaks the rhythm of our life, and we feel like our life is crashing down, and it takes time to get over such things. And these ups and downs keep coming because of our sanchit karma. There is good, there is bad, but then we have to understand that bhakti is so powerful that it is going to burn up all this. Our sanchit karma, our prarabdha, bhakti changes, and that is why it is so important to take to this process sincerely, and also encourage others, the people that we really love and we care about, and also the people in general, because if we have been given this gift of Krishna consciousness, which is, we can see tangibly it is transforming our life, then we should try and give this gift to others also, and bring it, especially our family members and the society in general. We should do, our part. Then, everyone has, like we are reading, everyone has their sanchit karma, right? So whether one comes to Krishna consciousness now or not, that is not in our hands. But what is in our hands is to make that effort to bring them to Krishna consciousness, especially the children in our families. We care so much about them. We worry so much about their future. What is the best thing that we can do for them? The best thing we can do for them is to bring them to the path of bhakti. If they start chanting, then the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is going to do wonders. And now we are reading in this para, right, that even someone who is as sinful as a Chandala, even their life can get transformed. Okay. Now let's read further. Swati Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
A person born in a Brahmana family or in the family of dog eaters due to past activities. If a person is born in a family of dog eaters, it means that his past activities were all sinful. But if even such person takes to the path of devotional service and begins to chant holy names of the Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, he is at once fit to perform ritualistic ceremonies. This means that his sinful reactions have immediately become neutralized. It is stated in Padma Purana that there are four kinds of effects due to sinful activities, which are listed as follows. 1. The effect that is not yet fructified. Second, the effect that is lying as a seed. Third, the effect that is already mature. Fourth, the effect that is almost mature. It is also stated that all these four effects becomes immediately vanquished for those who surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu and becomes engaged in devotional service in full Krishna consciousness. Shall I read, Mataji?
Yeah, Mataji, we'll discuss these two paras, then we'll move forward. Thank you so much. Yeah, so here Prabhupada is explaining that a person is born in a Brahmana family or in a family of dog eaters due to his past activities. So if we feel that the circumstances in our life right now are not very good, there are problems, then we have to understand that this is the result of our past activities. But this, what to do in such a state? The best thing is to just start chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And this purifies one to such an extent that even if a person is born in a Chandala family, they become fit as Brahmanas. And you see, Prabhupada, all his activities were so shastrically correct, right? They were so completely based on Shastra. And that is why he did not care about the birth of and the past life of his disciples. He was really criticized so much in India by Brahmanas, by the caste Brahmanas, that how can you give Brahman Diksha to the Mlechas, to the Yavanas, all these things. Prabhupada was criticized a lot. But Prabhupada knows that who is actually a Brahmana. It is not by birth, it is one who is purified. And by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra and by following this process of bhakti, he knew that they were purified and so they were fit to become Brahmanas. And Matajis were definitely never given Brahman Diksha or given the ability to do deity worship. But according to time, place, and circumstance, and seeing their level of devotion, Prabhupada brought about such a revolutionary change. And this is not even in current times, this was in the 70s. We have to understand at that time, it must have been such a radical step. But Prabhupada had that strength because it was completely based on Shastra. So, Prabhupada is quoting here from Padma Puran that there are four kinds of effects of our sinful activities. Those are which are not yet fructified, which are lying as a seed, where the effect is already mature, and effect that is almost mature. And these four effects become immediately vanquished for those who surrender unto the Supreme Lord Vishnu and become engaged in his devotional service in full Krishna consciousness. Okay. Yeah, now let's read the next two paragraphs. Kripa Mai Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Am I audible, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji.
Those effects described as almost mature refer to the distress from which one is suffering at present, and the effects lying as seeds are at the core of the heart, where there is a certain stock of sinful desires which are like seeds. The Sanskrit word "putam" means that they are almost ready to produce a seed or the effect of the seed. An immature effect refers to the case that the seedling has not begun. From this statement of Padma Purana, it is understood that material contamination is very subtle. Its beginning it would be utilization and results are and how one suffers such results in the form of distress are part of a great scheme. When one catches some disease, it is often very difficult to ascertain the cause of the disease, where it originated and how it is maturing. The suffering of the disease, however, does not appear all of a sudden. It actually takes time. And as in the medical field, for precaution's sake, the doctor injects a vaccination to prevent the growing of the the particular practical injection to stop all fructifications of the seeds of our sinful activities, essential engagement in Krishna consciousness. In this connection, Sukadeva Goswami speaks in the sixth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, second chapter, verse 17, about the story of Ajamila, who began life as a fine and beautiful Brahmana, but in his young manhood became wholly corrupted by a prostitute. At the end of his wicked life, just by calling the name Narayana, Krishna, he was saved despite so much sin. So the Deva points out that austerity, charity, and the performance of the ritualistic ceremonies for contracting sinful activities are recommended processes, but that by performing them, one cannot remove the sinful desire seeds from the heart, as was the case with Jamila in his youth. This sinful desire seed can be removed only by achieving Krishna consciousness, and this can be accomplished very easily by chanting the Maha Mantra or Hare Krishna Mantra as recommended by Srila Chaitanya Prabhupada. In other words, unless one adopts the path of devotion service, he cannot be 100% clean from all the reactions of sinful activities. Thank you,
Hare Krishna.
Mataji.
Thank you so much, Mataji. So here we are reading that bhakti is the only way to remove our suffering actually, because it works on all the different levels. So now let's understand how is it working at all the different levels. See, we discussed this earlier that our suffering is caused by our ignorance, our wrong desires, and our wrong actions. Okay, bhakti removes all these causes of suffering over a period of time. How? Now, firstly, ignorance, removing our ignorance. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that with the shining lamp of knowledge, he removes the ignorance from the heart, he removes the avidya. So, Krishna gives us the knowledge that removes our ignorance. And avidya is actually the foundation that is causing all the suffering. So, the root itself, avidya itself, is removed by bhakti, by knowledge of Krishna. Then our wrong desires. Bhakti purifies us. So it purifies our desires also. Just like, a wood is accumulated in a place and fire burns all of it, in this way, bhakti burns all our materialistic desires. It redirects our material desires to spiritual desires. So, in this way, all anarthas can be purified. Then, our prarabdha karma. If one becomes a devotee, then devotional service has the power to actually nullify all kinds of reactions to sinful deeds. So the results of prarabdha karma is also removed. And then aprarabdha karma. Aprarabdha karma, here we are understanding that it can be in the form of, it can be about to take fruit or just be in the seed form. In this way, we can understand aprarabdha karma. It is still unmanifest reaction. So, unmanifest reaction, that means it is something that we have done in the past, we have made a mistake, but the result is still not yet apparently there. Like, for example, if a person drinks alcohol, then there is some reaction that comes immediately, right? That at a physical level, he may have a hangover, he may have vomiting. But then the other thing that can happen is that he may get addicted to alcohol. With every indulgence, that rope is becoming tighter, that is becoming an addiction. So there is sinful desire and suffering. And the same thing that is happening with us also. There is some reaction that we are immediately getting. And then the other problem with doing sinful reactions is that it is creating this tendency in us to commit more and more sinful reactions. So the papam, the sinful reaction, we can understand that there is the some that are there in the kutam stage, that is a sinful inclination, and then some in the bijam stage, that is a sinful desire that is coming in our heart. And bhakti is working at all these stages, whether it is at the kutam stage, it changes our inclinations also, whether it is at the bijam stage, it changes our desires also, because bhakti gives us, bhakti fills our heart with so much positivity that all these negative things just start leaving our heart. So even though we don't have to consciously work on them, we have to consciously work on bringing more and more Krishna in our life, and then Maya will automatically leave our heart. And Prabhupada gives example of Ajamil. Externally, he was engaged in Brahmanical activities, but that bija, that sinful tendency was there in his heart, right? Internally, there was some sinful desire. And so when he saw the Shudra and the Shudrani embracing, then all those desires came out and he started engaging in sinful activities himself. But when he chanted Narayan, then the sinful reactions were removed. He reformed himself. He left his sinful life, he went to do austerities, and then he got a chance to go back to Krishna. So we may be having some sinful desires, but with bhakti, we get a higher taste. And then those temptations don't appear that glaring. those temptations don't affect a devotee. That's why when we see that someone who is probably engaged on the path of jnana or karma, or someone who's doing very deep austerities, yes, we may say that they have some special qualities. They may have some, their life may seem to be very pure in some cases. But because they are not engaged in bhakti, then they are not giving themselves a higher taste. So the tendency to fall back to sinful life is very, very strong. There is a great chance that may happen. But it is bhakti that is actually giving us that higher taste, which is making us feel that all the other materialistic things are actually not that great. If we have been on the path of bhakti for some years and we are doing our sadhana very nicely, if we go back and see our life the way it was 5 or 10 years ago, we'll definitely see a change. And it we may not have to wait for 5, 10 years also. For some devotees it works very, very fast also. So within a few months also we can see transformation. But this fast transformation can come only with bhakti, because bhakti is the powerful fire that is burning all our sinful tendencies, sinful desires, everything. So we should always be very cautious, because there may be some sinful tendencies which we don't know of yet. We all know that there we have some weaknesses, right? We that are apparent, that we know. But sometimes what happens is that when we are in a particular kind of environment, then our sinful proclivities start becoming, they start resurfacing. So then we think that, oh, I didn't think that I had this kind of a nature. For example, if someone may appear to be very mild and very subtle and very good natured. But when they get power or any position which gives them power, then sometimes people change. And I think we may have seen such changes, right? That someone who is very, very humble and sweet, but when they get a powerful position, their behavior changes. That means that sinful proclivity was there, that tendency was there, which now, given that particular environment, it becomes glaring. Bhakti is going to burn all these tendencies also. And the desires, the more we want to serve Krishna, the more we want to get more of Krishna in our life, the more all the wrong desires will also leave us. So bhakti is going to fill our mind with the right desires. And when we fill the mind with Krishna, then automatically Maya goes out. So in this way, bhakti is removing our suffering at all the various levels. This we have to understand, because otherwise, we may say that, okay, bhakti is changing my life, I can feel the transformation. But now when we are reading Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, then practically and with proof, we can first of all tell ourselves that how bhakti is going to transform my life, have that confidence to continue on the path of bhakti. And also for others, we can tell them that, okay, now maybe you're suffering, what is the cause of your suffering, and how when you take up to the path of bhakti, for sure your life is going to become better. Because people have a lot of vague thoughts about bhakti, that, oh, in bhakti I have to give this up, I have to give that up, so my all my things that are giving me enjoyment will go away. I'll not be able to eat onion garlic, I'll not be able to drink tea, I'll not be able to party with my friends, so all this enjoyment is going to leave me, and I'll not be happy. But we can tell them that all these things that people generally think to be enjoyment, that is all very superficial. Bhakti is going to give us a joy that is way more than these things. Plus, bhakti is going to remove our suffering. Everyone wants relief from suffering, isn't it? So this should be our selling point, that bhakti, when you come to the path of bhakti, for sure your life is going to be better than what it was. So, and here one argument that some people may put, that, okay, you are talking about bhakti and bhakti giving joy, but then there are so many pure devotees who we see are suffering. Your Srila Prabhupada also had health issues. There are so many Maharajas and sannyasis in ISKCON who are having such grave health issues. And how can you say that with bhakti our life will become better, that our sinful reactions are going away? See, devotees here we have to understand and explain that devotees who are at the bhava and prema stage, sometimes we see them also undergoing suffering apparently, but they are not actually suffering. This, this which we see as, suffering, it is not karmic reaction for them. Their karmas have been burned. They are not getting any karmic reaction. Those things that are happening in their life are as an instruction for us, that even when obstacles come, they are not as strong as the obstacles that Srila Prabhupada faced, right? So this is to encourage us that in spite of obstacles, we should continue on the path of bhakti, like Prabhupada continued and continued to preach. So for the and also, to glorify those devotees, that in spite of that problem that they are facing, they are still in bhakti. So that fills our heart with so much love and so much respect for them. So for us, the suffering is to purify us. But for those pure devotees, the suffering is to actually glorify them. And Krishna adjusts, everything in such a way. Just like that example of a mother-in-law and daughter-in-law is given, right? That when a daughter-in-law comes to a new family, the mother-in-law, because this relationship is very, very tender and still very fresh, she instructs something to her daughter, and through that, the daughter-in-law gets the instruction. So she may scold her daughter, and with that scolding, the daughter in law understands that, okay, I was not supposed to do it like this. I was actually supposed to do it like that. Because the daughter is very close to the mother. So she'll not feel bad with the mother scolding. In the same way, through the pure devotees, sometimes, their lives may be, things may be happening in such a way that through that we get an instruction that how we should conduct our life. So we should never think that, oh, pure devotees are suffering, then how we can say bhakti removes suffering. It is a very, very different thing. That is between them and Krishna, and that is a very high level of interaction and reciprocation they are having. For us, we have to understand that bhakti actually burns up sinful reactions which are at different stages, which we read about today. So we have to be sure that if we continue on this path and become more and more sincere, definitely our life is going to become way better than what it would be without bhakti. Okay. So we'll stop here today. Next week we'll continue after this point. So if any questions, any comments, any realizations you would like to
Yes,
share.
Mataji, I have one question.
Yes,
Now,
Mataji.
these four effects, the four kinds of effects due to sinful activities, right? You said, which comes under Kuta Bija Prarabdha. Can you kind of tell me?
Sorry, Mataji, your voice is not very clear. Can you repeat
I said,
your
which
question?
is Kuta and which is Bija? These four things, no? These 1, 2, 3, 4, what they have given.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Mataji, the desires that we have, that is bijam, and kutam is the tendencies that we may have. The sinful inclination, that is kutam, and bijam is the sinful desire that we have.
Yeah, Bijam, okay. Then other one? Prarabdha, Prarabdha.
Prarabdha is which is already bearing fruit, which we are already facing, the reactions. Aprarabdha is still unmanifest reactions. So we can say that prarabdha is manifest reactions and aprarabdha is unmanifest reactions.
Okay, okay, Mataji. And 1 minute, Mataji.
Yes.
These dog eaters, they are called, are they chandalas or?
Chandalas, yes, Mataji.
Yeah. Okay, Mataji, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you all so much for joining. We'll continue next week. Vancha kalpatrubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय नेक्टर ऑफ इंस्ट्रक्शन की जय भक्ति रसामृत सिंधु की जय श्रील रूप गोस्वामी की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय श्री गुरु महाराज की जय हरे कृष्णा थैंक यू ऑल फॉर जॉइनिंग हरे कृष्ण
Thank you, Mataji. Dandat Pranam, Hare Krishna.
प्रणाम जय
Krishna
श्री
Mataji,
Hare
thank you.
Krishna Mataji, thank you.
Thank you.
Dandat Pranam.
Pranam.